Hey guys, how's it going? So it's been a little while. I figured I would first start about an update to the channel, things I look to do going forward, and what I've been doing since I last came here to talk to you fine people. A lot of what I had been doing before was largely about sort of the movie reviews. And when I couldn't really go to the movies anymore, it felt very different. And because of that, I didn't feel the need to make as many reviews. But I would like to say that now that I have had my second shot of the vaccine, now that things hopefully are getting back to normal, I would like to continue to do more movie reviews coming forward. I miss the cinematic experience so much. I miss going to the movies. And beyond that, I miss working in movies. It's been a really tough year as far as not working on set. Frankly, my perspective on this channel as somebody who works in the film industry, it took a hit this year because, I didn't know really what to talk about other than the same thing that literally everybody was going through. So it's not like I had any kind of unique perspective on it that I really wanted to share here. But what I really found was that in this time off, I spent a lot more time focusing on what I would like this to be, what I want the channel to be going forward. So the movie reviews will be coming back. I have decided that I'm going to shift the perspective on it just a little bit. I started it because so many people that I know in my life ask me about the movies that I've seen and ask me for my opinions on them. And I thought it would be an easy way to, if people were interested in knowing this, just like when they called me up on the phone, maybe more people would be interested in it. And something that I feel like didn't make it from the translation from the conversations I have with friends and family of mine to the reviews was sort of the experience of what it's like to work on a movie. And I know that I touched on it a lot about things you don't know when you're watching the movie, but I really want to have more of an experience like you have on set, where it's lunchtime, you pull up a chair, pull up an Apple box, you sit down, and somebody instinctively says, "Has anyone seen anything good?" And then immediately launch into, "I just saw this," and I want to make the reviews going forward more of a, I just saw this version of what I saw, as opposed to more of a study of what was going on. I still think that it's important that we talk about these things, and I will talk about those things in reviews, but I think that the first step is just to give it to you like I feel it, and just sort of talk about it like other people in the film industry talk about movies when they're watching them when they meet on set. In addition to that, I've for a long time wanted to create different kinds of content. I mean, there's lots of great film stuff here on YouTube. I would like to do an episode coming up talking about great places where you can learn about gear or theory or a bunch of things like that, podcasts. But I found that there wasn't as much about sort of the life of in Los Angeles and the film industry and stuff like that in a different kind of way. So I live in downtown. I'm preparing to do a series of videos here on this channel honoring sort of downtown and film, because Union Station, which is the main train station here in Los Angeles, is going to be part host of the Oscars coming up. So I figured the next couple weeks there will be some Oscar content. There will be some me showing you about downtown, because it's such a rich film location for a variety of different reasons. And going forward, just trying a whole bunch of other different things that I think don't necessarily get talked about. So For instance, I had purchased an EV right before the whole pandemic started, and I worked on one feature with it, and it worked out great. But there was something about like, like how do you charge it overnight, and like, like working on a feature in an EV as opposed to a regular gas car and what the differences and stuff are. I want to make that video too. But, first things first, I have to get back on set and get back on a feature. And hopefully those days are just around the corner with things, with the pace of the vaccinations here in the United States. That being said, keep your eye here for new videos coming up. I want to get more consistent with it. I want to do more regular videos, and for certain, I have a couple weeks worth of things already lined up for you guys to enjoy, so stick right here and check that out. Now, I know what you're saying. In your mind, you're saying, Cory, you just spent a year trying to figure out how to rebrand your YouTube channel. That doesn't seem like a productive use of your time. That's not the only thing I did. I want to share a story with you guys that if you're a writer, a screenwriter in particular, you might find this very interesting. It's a situation that a lot of people, I think, could find some relevance in. So this past year, I've been writing. I spent most of my time, because I was stuck inside, working on a new screenplay. And differently from the ones that I had worked on before, this one was based in a true story. There were no fictional characters or anything, which is usually where I sort of find my comfort zone in writing. And it is a slog, let me tell you. It's the worst because you feel like you're ready to write, and then you sit down, and then you have to research something. And no matter how much you've read, and I read tens of thousands of pages worth of things for the script, you just never feel like you really have it. And, the first draft in particular is a real slog because it stops and starts, and even though you want to just like push through and keep writing something, if you write something wrong, you might have to switch up the whole scene. And that's a whole another thing where you're deleting things you wrote and rewriting it so that it works. Anyway, it took about a year, but I finally finished the draft. It is out there. People are reading it, and I've gotten good responses to it so far. And then something really unexpected happened. So it was 2 days after I put the proverbial fade out at the end of the script, when the news started breaking on all the big entertainment sites, Variety, your Deadlines, so on and so forth, that HBO had just agreed to a series on the same thing that I had just spent a year writing my script on. And a very prominent showrunner, probably the most prominent for this type of thing, is going to be taking that story and running with it. So, to many people who are hearing this, you might say to yourself, like, well, Cory, it sounds like you're pretty well fucked. And to a degree, perhaps. But this is something very important, a lesson to be learned here. There have been many times in the history of Hollywood, in particular the recent history of Hollywood, where multiple movies or shows about the same thing came out at the same time. There were 2 Fyre Festival documentaries not too long ago. There were 2 Steve Jobs movies not too long ago. At the same time that Independence Day was released, there was another movie that was just like it. Same sort of thing with like Olympus Has Fallen. Just examples I can think of off the top of my head. What's good about where I am right now is that I know that the thing that I have spent time working on has been something that other people would be interested in as so much as HBO has bought the same exact thing. So where does that leave me right now? Well, first of all, my script is done, as opposed to theirs, which they are just starting to get writing now. So I could always try and push it out really hard and see if somebody was interested in making it before they could make it and beating them to market. Like the problem is if you hear about this thing today, then you're writing at the same time as the other showrunner is running, and there's a chance that this whole thing is not going to get done in time to beat them to market. Having a finished script helps allow that to happen. Two, and while it is discouraging to write something and then not be able to make that thing per se, a good script is a good script, and if it shows that you have the talent and ability to write, then it shows that you could write any number of things that are out there in the universe. So, perhaps the script doesn't end up going further than it does right now, but it doesn't mean that in the this script couldn't lead me to an opportunity where I could write something else that I'd really like and get paid before the fact, as opposed to this one, which I wrote on spec. The other thing is, just because I have written something and maybe it's not opportune to be made right now, doesn't mean that it can't be made at some other time. I mean, there are plenty of examples too of movies that were released and then the same subject matter came along 20 years later, outside of the realm of rebooting a franchise or making a long lost sequel to something that you saw in the 80s. All that being said, I'm not that worried about it. I think that I'm proud of the work that I've done. I'm proud of the script that I have right now. Just doing all the polishes that I need to do before I get it out there in the world, a lot more than it already is. And I think if I've learned anything throughout this entire pandemic, I have suffered from ADHD for my whole life. I was diagnosed very young, and it was very different for someone like me who has a different way of operating, and my brain operates differently than a normal person. But this year in particular has been very tough on me, and I'm sure a lot of other people who have ADHD, because there's like this sort of like constant running thoughts, like it's always next step, but it's also the inability to start. So it's like this curse of like wanting to go but not being able to actually start moving at the same exact time. And at some point, I would love to talk about ADHD and how it is a blessing and a curse when it comes to doing work in the film industry. But that's basically where I am right now. So I have the script, finishing it up. Hopefully everything will be going out soon enough. And I can't wait to share more about that with you, and a lot more coming forward with the channel. And if you like this video, please like it and subscribe if you feel like it, because all those things help the YouTube search algorithm in getting this to more people. And I think that there's somebody who I want to help people, so there's somebody out there who could be helped by this, and if you could do those things for me, I would really appreciate it, just as I appreciate you watching this far, because you are the reason. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.